On this episode, something's a little different. Greg Keith, my colleague and mentor, will be the one asking me the questions and I'll do most of the talking. You know me as someone who's always asking about your financial security, protection, and your family's future. But today, you'll hear the story behind why I care so much about these things. Growing up in the Philippines, losing my father when I was 5, and later immigrating to Canada, these experiences shaped who I am and why I do this work. In the next 25 minutes, Greg and I dive into my journey and what I'm learning along the way and what success means to me. If you've wondered what's the mission that drives behind Unpacked and Empowered Finances, this one's for you.
So today on Marianne's podcast, we're going to do something a little different. Normally she's controlling the show and asking the hard questions, but it'd be interesting if her audience got a chance to learn a little bit more about her. I don't know if Marianne is very excited about this episode, but
Kind of nervous.
we're gonna dive into it and learn a little bit more about her today. So I guess I'll start with how I met Marianne. So about a year ago, I think we connected on LinkedIn. I probably reached out to her and I saw her on a St. John Chamber of Commerce post where she had joined the chamber, and I saw that she was a young advisor. Where we were in the same city, I thought it'd be good to connect. So we ended up meeting and chatting, and long story short, she was with another organization and she later joined our firm. So we worked together for approximately a year. So
Approximately.
Marianne spends a lot of time highlighting other people, other team members. She doesn't talk about herself too much, which is probably a good quality. But I just think Marianne has a very powerful and interesting story. And I thought it would be something different and something interesting for her listeners to learn a little bit about who she is, where she comes from, what's important to her. So I guess we'll dive right into it. So this is the first time I've run a podcast, so pretty great for me too.
This will be your podcast, I guess.
Yeah. So why don't we just start with, why don't you tell us about your life, Marianne? Where are you from? How things started? Just a little bit about the early life of Marianne Agudo.
Okay. So I grew up in the Philippines and I grew up from a family we're a tight knit family. So love and support, it's not just said, it's actually felt because my mom is very expressive. So that's a little bit about like the early years. Even her relatives, like, were always together in celebrations. And then growing up, my mom raised us as a single mom. I lost my father when I was 5, but again, with the family being tight knit, it's just a natural thing for my aunts or my uncles to just help. My mom is also a career woman. She's a professional social worker, and I'm so proud of her.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's how I grew up.
So one thing that Marianne shared with me since we've gotten to know each other is that at a young age, she lost her father. I know that that plays into some of her passion behind what she does for a living and helping protect families and having the right life insurance in place. Why don't you speak, the challenges and the experience of losing a parent at a young age and how that affected your life?
So when we lost our father when I was 5, it taught me that nothing really is constant. So everything can change in a blink of an eye. So we really have to be prepared for these kinds of things. Of course, the emotional impact is really there and it's going to stay. I think it's always going to stay, but it lightens up as you grow because you learn a lot from it. And on my side, my mom, I saw her. I saw how she didn't have time to grieve because life just takes over. She just has to take care of the kids that were left with her, to care for them, to love them. So that's where proper planning and proper security should be put in place because who's going to take care of your children when one of the parents is no longer there? My mom was in that position where she can take care of herself professionally because she has been doing that for a long time anyway. But it's just a burden of, I say it's a burden, we're not a burden to her, of course, but Like it's a financial burden, I guess, that you'd have to support 5 kids on your own.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So, what are some big lessons that you learned from that experience that have stuck with you over the years?
You always have to be prepared. I was listening to a book called The Comfort Crisis from Michael Easter. And in that book, he shared that the first thing that they learn is to accept that debt is real. And that's like, it's a natural thing. We don't have
Yeah.
to like make it bad or like look bad or something, but that is a natural thing. And once we come to accept that that is going to happen, is when we become more compassionate
Mm.
and more loving to the people around us. And that's what I learned growing up too, because like I said earlier, my mom has always been expressive with the kind of love. My aunt, who has raised me too, has also been very expressive. With my siblings, we always show our love when the people is there, is the biggest lesson that I learned, apart from being prepared financially, is that you always have to give your whole heart for them while they're there.
Okay. So, let's talk about your immigration journey. You've been in Canada for 5 or 6 years now. Why don't you tell us what made you decide to come to Canada?
So my sister's been here before me. So I was actually the last one to migrate. So for me, it's a natural decision for me to take. So around 2015, I already am married to my husband, Harry. He was in the military. So I was like, oh, how can I get him to move with me? 'Cause if that's
Yeah.
the case, then he's going to leave his occupation. And so I prayed that my husband would be okay to that idea. And it was okay with him. Of course, there were some fears of what are we going to do there because it's a different country and he's been in the military for a long time. So it's going to be a whole new different ride. And
Mm.
also, the major thing is because he serves in the armed forces, he's always away.
Okay.
And I thought at the time that the big leap for us would be if we move, then of course we're going to be together
Okay.
as because before he was always away like 6 months, 3 months, but here he has no choice. He has to stay with me all the time.
That's, that's funny. Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. So you actually want him around. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can imagine this journey came with some unknowns and some challenges. What are some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced in this process?
I can say for me, I'm actually a bit on the privileged end just because my family was already here.
Okay.
So we just rented out the space in my sister's house. So we didn't have a hard time adjusting to an apartment. And then also we had support in navigating. Okay, so the way that we drive here compared to back home, it's actually easier to drive here.
Okay.
So that was not a barrier to me. And then I think the other barrier, I guess, would be if you're not engaged to the right community.
Mhm.
If you're not engaged to the right community, because for me, I have people around me already. So the support was there already. But if you're someone who's just moving on your own by yourself, it's important to really have that kind of support that you can get because it's for you to be immersed in the community, you'd really have to take advantage of the settlement groups.
Mm.
And I've only come to learn about these organizations, I think, 3 years after moving.
Okay.
But it has really helped in my career growth, my professional growth. So if you can have that early on, it would be better. And that's where you would also meet really good friends.
Okay. So here's a question that, um, like I've grown up in New Brunswick. My
Mhm.
parents live 20 minutes from where I live now. My wife's parents are 20 minutes the other way. I still play golf with 3 guys I went to high school with every Tuesday. So my life is very different from yours. And I guess one question I have is for immigrants, people who are making these difficult transitions in their lives. What do you think people like me misunderstand or underestimate when it comes to the challenges and difficulties that immigrants face in Canada?
I guess that we're trying to take your jobs.
Yeah.
We're not here to take over Canada.
Yeah.
We're here to help as well. I guess, at least for me, from what I can say with all the other immigrant friends that I know, is we're always willing to share our talents. We're always willing to share our expertise where it's needed. And sometimes it could feel like we're trying to take the jobs away from the others, but I know that it's a level playing field as well.
Mhm.
So we are all given opportunities. And some may have less than others, but it's really more on how you use those opportunities, how you can leverage those opportunities for you to grow personally.
Mhm.
So I think that's one misconception, is we're trying to take over your country, but we're not. We want to engage with you. Like, we don't want to be ostracized. I don't want to offend a lot of people, but sometimes it can feel like, what is it? Like, I can drink the same drink that you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am willing to try anything. I'm willing to try different kinds of food. I'm willing to try different ways of doing work.
Yeah.
And sometimes I actually learn a lot working here in the Canadian landscape, because I think we're in the Philippines, we're always like super fast. We need to get it done because your stats are there. Like, there's so many stats that we have to like work on.
Mhm.
Even being late is like being late on a day. You be late for 3 times, you get a verbal notice, you get a warning, then you're out. You're done.
Okay.
And that's why when I was studying so much and I wasn't booking a lot of appointments, I was like, will I get kicked out? Because that's how work was ingrained in me.
Yeah.
But here, it's more laid back, I guess. It's like we're all chill. I mean, we're not we're not always in an emergency. We can
Yeah.
work efficiently, productively, and we don't have to be scared of getting,
Getting
you
fired
know,
for studying.
getting fired anytime.
So let's talk about why you do what you do. So, what is the purpose behind your work? So, there's a lot of people, I mean, thousands and thousands of people in Canada work in finance. But one thing I've learned from you is you seem to have this deep mission and purpose, and you're really connected to what you do. You care about every single client. And why don't you speak a little bit about why you're doing this? Why are you a financial advisor?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the financial advising industry, I find that the people who would have access to financial planning are in the well off sector. The affluent ones usually have access to financial advice. And well, that is good because they're also the ones who would need complex financial planning. I feel like the ones that are starting over or the ones still getting established are actually needing support, just like I did.
Hmm.
So I feel that it's very important that we support the people who needs it most so we can grow and get established financially. And at the same time, just like what happened in my past, is without the proper protection, it's not my parents' fault that they didn't have insurance. It's not a common thing for the Filipinos to have insurance at the time.
Okay.
And that's why they didn't have that. But here, everything is presented to you. So, like, everything is available. It's up to you to learn what applies to you.
Okay.
And I'm here so that the people who don't know, who are probably confused with what steps they can do to build their financial security, is I'm able to provide that kind of support. Not just pushing the products, but really knowing what is your priority. Why are you even here?
Mm.
And how can we help you grow from this place to the other place? And I have that kind of experience that naturally just gives me that ability to connect to what's really going to happen if one income earner passes away,
Oh,
or what's really going to happen if some sickness just happens in the family. We've had those in the past few months and even years. What's the impact of one member of the family having sickness
mhm.
or critical illness, and how you're going to be prepared for that? not just with insurance, but even with savings, building your cushion, those kinds of things.
No, one thing I've noticed with you is you're passionate about educating people. And I think the answer you just gave really speaks to that. Like it's about helping people understand what's available to them and making sure they can. I mean, in our business, we believe that everybody should have some life insurance and some critical illness, and those are important things to have. Not everyone's going to agree with that. There's going to be
Mm,
people who it just maybe it's not something they believe in. Maybe it's the wrong time in their life. There's
mm,
maybe it's an affordability issue. There could be many circumstances as to why they choose not to. But I think having the education so they can make that decision. But I think that kind of speaks to or what I've learned about you since I met you a year ago is I don't know where this comes from, and maybe you can speak to that a little. Education seems to be very important part of your life,
mhm.
always studying. You're enrolled in university, you're working on your QAFP, you've done some industry exams over the last couple of years. You just seem to never stop learning and you seem to have this passion for knowledge. Why don't you touch on that a little bit and give us where does that come from?
It's again, every time I learn something, I always find, like, I think it's ingrained in me also that I have to share this, even with my husband.
Okay.
Even the courses on economics, I would be like, "Oh, baby, this is how it."
You must
I
love
always,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I always like share.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be, it's there's a good and bad thing about it, but more on really the good thing is because I'm able to share things that I'm learning to others. Because that, for me, I believe that if even the free education, really, even the free education, if someone is maybe they're very busy, they don't have time to like read through the things that I normally would read, and so I can like in a normal conversation, oh, did you know that this thing would help you do this thing. In terms of finances, really here in Canada, there's a lot of acronyms.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what you need to know, then it's going to be a challenge for you to build properly from there. But I really like learning. Going back to the question of what drives me to learn is really, I want to learn again.
Mhm.
I believe that life is a continuous learning because if you stop that, then there's this scientific thing that I learned again,
Yeah.
always because of always reading, that if you stop exercising your brain,
Yeah.
is when you start to deteriorate too.
Okay.
And again, that really, I want my children
Yeah.
to really learn a lot. And with that, I actually created something that I sold on Etsy 3 years ago, and it's still selling like
Okay.
from time to time. It's financial basics for children.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't know.
Yeah, I was surprised because the other day I was like, "Oh, there's a sale." It's
Yeah.
like a $4.99 activity workbook for kids so
Oh,
that
cool.
their parents can teach them about early on about saving, tithing, or sharing, donating, investing, things like that.
Okay.
Um, so that really is just my goal, is to be able to share what I learned so that other people who probably don't have access to it would learn from me. If not
Okay.
from me, from the others that I would refer them to learn, like
Okay.
folks podcast.
That's awesome. Yeah. So on top of that, you spend 23 hours a week learning and somehow you find time for volunteering and family as well. I know that your church and I know you're deeply involved in the Filipino community in New Brunswick and you spend tons of time with your family and your young daughter and your husband. So how do you balance all that, Marianne? Like, do you sleep?
I do sleep,
Yeah.
but yeah, sleep is really important to me.
Yeah.
Um, Even though with all the multiple things that I'm doing with the work, with being a mom, with the volunteering, my studying, I find that there's, I wouldn't say balance, but you'd have to really learn that the word no is a full sentence, which I didn't realize before. There would be some events that you get invited to, not all of them you have to agree with because you have your competing priorities. So in my case, I've learned how to be saying yes to what's essential.
Okay.
And what's essential to me is my time with my family, my service to what I'm purposed, like what my purpose here on earth is.
Yep.
And those would include helping the people around me,
Hmm.
helping my community. So that's really important to me. And learning again goes back to how it grows me as a person and how I can help translate those learnings to other people.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Sure.
I guess it's not really work life balance. For me, it's really more on understanding what I say yes to and what I say no to, and which part of the day am I more productive that I
Mhm.
can do something. So, for example, with the Filipino community, we've had a recent event that really takes a lot of time for all of us. And I appreciate all the volunteers in that group, including myself. And we also have a great leadership.
Okay.
So it's important to know that not everything is up to you.
Mm.
You can maximize the talents of different people to do things. And so that really helped us, even though we are all committed to different types of schedules, but we still make time because it's important to us to contribute to the community.
So, when you think about the last 5 years in Canada, what are you most proud of? What have you accomplished that you're really proud of?
I'm proud that at this age, I am able to transition into something that I really feel passionate about.
Okay.
So in 2022, I don't know if I shared this to you. I started a blog called Finding Joy with Less.
Hmm.
And that blog that turned into a podcast is focused on being frugal, living intentionally, and getting out of debt. Because I used to be a shopaholic.
Okay. Didn't know that. Yeah.
I have two jobs, but then if I get paid for my other job, I would be at Marshalls or Winners, and I
Okay.
would be spending my money there.
Was that while you were
So
in Canada or was that pre Canada?
that was here. And
Oh,
also
okay.
when I was back home,
Okay. So
I always like to shop for clothes.
that followed you from
And
the Philippines to Canada. Okay.
yeah, I like buying clothes and beautiful things for home. But I actually am very proud of myself that I've learned that not everything that I see is beautiful deserves to be taken inside my home.
Okay.
But yeah, so I guess the main thing is being able to know that I don't have to buy everything to be happy.
Hmm.
Just being, I don't want to say content because we're always going to want something, but having that knowledge that joy doesn't come from buying a lot of things, acquiring a lot of things, buying branded items,
Hmm.
all those kinds of stuff. That was the focus of my blog so that we can get out of debt.
Yeah.
So that was really important to me. And I was learning a lot of personal finance podcasts that I was listening to. Some of them I didn't even know at the time, oh, these are financial planners. And then I would just learn, oh, there's people who are actually in this profession
Hmm.
that talks about it on the podcast too. Because before I would just listen to the bloggers, podcasters from America, but they didn't have the credentials. They're just
Okay.
sharing from experience.
All right.
I want to be able to share the proper knowledge, combining my experience on it. So that podcast became Unpacked and Empowered podcast
Yep.
when I entered the industry.
That's where we are today. We're all, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because you'd never told me about your blog and that it turned into a podcast. But in the initial few weeks when I met you, I did some investigating and I actually listened to a few of those episodes. So yeah, so I was aware of that. But yeah, that's interesting. So why don't we kind of move into a few final questions? Like, let's start with something simple. Maybe not that simple, but like, what does success mean to you right now? Like, what's your definition of that in your life today?
Success to me means that my children is able to have a good education and that they're going to have a life that's comfortable.
Hmm.
I don't think success is you have to be rich or For me, success is being able to be where you need to be at the time, not being constrained with, oh, I have to be at this job because otherwise I'll lose my livelihood.
Okay.
Success to me is having flexibility.
Yeah.
Success to me is having the available time to spend with the people that matters to you.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah. And being able to fulfill your purpose.
I think a lot of what I heard when you were speaking about that is the success to choose. So you're living a life that you've chosen, you have choices, you can spend time in the areas that are important to you, and you're not forced into something just because you have to pay a bill or, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, what are you hopeful about in the future? Like, what is something that you think about that really makes you positive about, the future?
I'm hoping that in this podcast, if I've helped one person, if I've helped one family, if I've helped maybe 10 families, that's what matters to me. And if I can help a lot more people with what I'm sharing, that's something that I'm really hopeful for, because not a lot of people would resonate with what I share. Some people may feel like, huh, I don't need that. And that's okay. Not everybody has to like me. But if those people who actually learned something from me, that's really a positive thing for me, that I can call that a success as well already. Because as long as we're able to help with what we're sharing, as long as we are building something that is going to grow others,
Hmm.
is I think that's really important. So I'm really hopeful that this podcast gets shared to others who need it most.
Okay. Marianne, since you've been a part of our team, you've been an inspiration to all of us. You work so hard and you put the important things first. You prioritize the right things. And I know there's many people on the team that have years of experience over you, but just the way you conduct yourself, run your business, and treat clients has been such a good reminder of why we're in this business, why we do what we do. And I don't know if you realize that, but your work ethic and your purpose it's been inspiring.
I appreciate that.
Everybody sees value in what you're doing. You set such a great example with your work ethic, and you're doing it for the right reasons.
I think for me as well, it's having that mindset that you don't know everything, right?
Yeah.
That you can always learn a lot from people around you, even that work specifically. So I would talk to, for example, the Jeff, I would talk to Murray, and even you. I would ask, so what was it like starting? What was it like for you and Teresa when you were getting started, right? So
Right.
I always find questions to ask, even with my clients, actually. I ask them, like after the meeting, because some of them are already like on their retirement age. Sometimes I will ask, so how did you accomplish this? And like, because there's always something to learn from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have having that mindset that you're like a sponge.
Yeah.
You gain a lot of information, and then when you're pressed, you give that information off.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that speaks to the power of our team. We have a lot of different people with different experiences and expertises. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. So I guess that's all the questions I have for you today, Marianne. And I've never ended a podcast. So I don't know what to say
That's
now.
it.
Do you want to take it from here and we'll wrap this up?
So thank you for listening to me answer Greg's questions. And if you learned something, I hope that you would share it to others and let me know in the comments, or feel free to like, subscribe, and just continue following this podcast for more.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye bye.